Who called in the Air Force?
The McDonnell Douglas F-4 Phantom II. With 5,195 built, this is the most numerous U.S. supersonic jet ever made. The F-4 first flew in May of 1958 and entered service in 1961. At introduction, the F-4 was the U.S. Navy's fastest, highest flying, and longest range fighter. In 1959, its prototype set the world altitude record at 98,556 feet. That's 30,000 meters. In 1961, an F-4 set the world speed record at 1,604 miles per hour. That's 2,581 kilometers per hour on a 15-mile circuit. The F-4 is most commonly associated with the Vietnam War, but it was also used during Operation Desert Storm in 1990 and 91. F-4 served with the air forces of 11 countries beyond the United States, and this is a famous, well-liked aircraft in many countries, particularly in Japan, where Mitsubishi manufactured 127 Phantoms for their own air force. As such, the Phantom appears significantly in foreign cinema, including Japanese monster movies and anime. Some may be surprised that the aircraft has been flown by both Israel and Iran using the aircraft extensively in the Iran-Iraq War in the 1980s. The F-4 was, and still is, a highly adaptable and capable aircraft. It's a twin-engine, all-weather, long-range, supersonic jet interceptor and fighter bomber. It was flown by the United States Marine Corps, Navy, and the U.S. Air Force. The aircraft had a production run from 1958 to 1981. The F-4 didn't fully leave service in the U.S. until 1996. It's also the only aircraft to historically been used by the flight demonstration teams, the Thunderbirds and the Blue Angels. Phantoms remain in active service in Iran, South Korea, Turkey, and Greece. They've seen significant action in the Middle East. Israel pushed the limits of the Phantom on many occasions during the Yom Kippur War of 1973. On one occasion, a pair of Israeli F-4E Phantoms challenged 28 Egyptian MiGs over Sharm el-Sheikh, and within half an hour, shot down 7 or 8 MiGs with no losses. The Phantom's top speed is over Mach 2.2, and it can carry more than 18,000 pounds or 8,400 kilograms worth of weapons, including air-to-air missiles on 9 external hardpoints. It was initially designed without an internal cannon, relying on just missiles to combat enemy aircraft. However, this was considered an oversight, and it would be given an M61 Vulcan rotary cannon. The most interesting visual design features are no doubt the wings and tail. During development, wind tunnel testing had revealed lateral instability, requiring an addition of 5 degrees dihedral to the wings. To avoid redesigning the titanium central section of the aircraft, McDonnell engineers angled up only the outer portions of the wings by 12 degrees, which averaged the required 5 degrees over the entire wingspan. The all-moving tailplane was given 23 degrees of anhedral to improve control at high angles of attack, while still keeping clear of engine exhaust. At the start of the Vietnam War, the Phantom was primarily used as an air superiority fighter for the U.S. Air Force, Navy, and Marine Corps, but it would become increasingly important as a ground attack aircraft, and even used for aerial reconnaissance. The F-4 took on dangerous roles in the Vietnam War, including the F-4 Wild Weasel, tasked with radar suppression. It hunted radar, armed with radar-seeking air-to-ground missiles. The F-4 Phantom was the only aircraft flown by U.S. pilots who became aces during the Vietnam War. 5 Americans became aces with the aircraft. The American aces flew as members of 2-man crews on F-4 Phantoms, reflecting the emergence of air-to-air missiles as the primary weapon of aerial combat.
Fantastic! Good maneuver, Major. We're on a 6 now. I hear you. Lock him up. He's locked 2,000 feet. Clear to fire.
The Phantom, though an excellent plane during the Vietnam War, did not fully dominate as expected. It had massive firepower, the best available onboard radar, incredible speed and acceleration. It was believed pilots were using the best tactics and training. Despite this, the lighter MiG-21 stacked up surprising kills against the Phantom. MiG pilots developed tactics to combat Phantoms using their superior turning. However, their biggest advantage was catching an F-4 fully loaded with bombs or outnumbered. MiG pilots in short supply had to be disciplined and choose their engagements carefully. The F-4 missiles were also underwhelming, often taking multiple to down an aircraft. Furthermore, engagement rules limited missile use, as pilots often had to make visual identification before attacking. Pilots could even find themselves too close behind an enemy to fire their short-range Falcon or Sidewinder missiles. During the war, US F-4 Phantoms were credited with a total of 150 plus 1/2 MiG kills, at a cost of 42 Phantoms in air combat. Claims made by the Vietnam People's Air Force are virtually the opposite, giving the MiG-21s the superior kill-to-loss ratio. The F-4 remains a well-loved aircraft in the United States. It developed a reputation for effectiveness and brute engine force. Some of its nicknames include Snoopy, Rhino, Double Ugly, Old Smoky, the Flying Anvil, Flying Footlocker, Flying Brick, Lead Sled, the Big Iron Sled, and the St. Louis Slugger. Arguably its best moniker was the world's leading distributor of MiG parts, in tribute to its record of downing Soviet aircraft in Vietnam and the Middle East. The aircraft's emblem is a whimsical cartoon ghost called the Spook. The Spook has followed the Phantom around the world, adopting local fashions. For example, the British adaptation of the US Phantom Man is a spook that sometimes wears a bowler hat and smokes a pipe. The United Kingdom flew the US Navy's F-4J for use with the Royal Air Force and the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm. The UK was the only country outside the United States to operate the Phantom at sea, with them operating from the HMS Ark Royal. The main differences were the use of British Rolls-Royce Spey engines and British-made avionics.
Nylon bridle arrestor stops tight. Cruise clear, afterburners, everything straining, pilot happy, go!
Sadly, in the movies, the Phantom has yet to get a film truly dedicated to it out of Hollywood. However, there are some notable productions. Red Flag from 1981 is a made-for-TV movie that highlights the F-Force use during war games over the Nevada desert. It's free and available on YouTube.
6,200 feet. Be advised we have a 111 in the area and do not run the intercept on him.
The other American movie to significantly feature F-4s is The Great Santini, starring Robert Duvall. The movie is more centered around family military dynamics, but Robert Duvall portrays a convincing take of a man whose attributes as a military pilot can conflict with being a husband and father.
Preacher has tally. Okay, fight's on. Go get him.
Ironically, the most dedicated F-4 films are not American, but Turkish and Iranian. The attack on H-3 from 1995 tells the story of the Iranian Air Force attack on the Iraq H-3 base near the Jordanian border on April 4, 1981. The Iranians destroyed at least 48 Iraqi aircraft on the ground, with no losses of their own. This is considered one of the most successful modern raids in the history of aerial warfare. The raid involved 8 F-4 Phantoms. The Turkish film Anatolian Eagles from 2011 was made in part to celebrate the Turkish Air Force's 100th anniversary. It has a lot of Air Force eye candy, a Turkish Top Gun of sorts, with no shortage of F-4s in the film. You can watch both Attack on H-3 and Anatolian Eagles in full on YouTube, should foreign cinema interest you. Alright, I'm Johnny. Thanks for watching this little brief on the Phantom. Stay frosty, and we'll see you next time.